Slow down the news.
Are you ready to slow jam the news? I love this silly fucker.
Yeah, right. It's like I want to have a beer with him one day.
I know, right? Dude, did you ever heard his story about Prince?
Uh-uh.
He plays ping pong, right?
Right.
And so Prince plays ping pong, and so Prince's people got in touch with him and said, "Hey, Prince wants to play ping pong with you." And
Wow.
and he's like, "All right, well, when we gonna do this? Whatever." And ended up hanging out with him at this club, this ping pong club that Susan Sarandon fucking owns out there in L.A. We're right back. We're back, and he says, yeah, and he came in there and he played, and he said that he had to have his bodyguards step out, and he said he just whooped his ass, and then the last winning thing, he hit the ball so hard it flew across and it was over in the corner. Mm-hmm. He turned around to go grab it, and he was like, "Dang, Prince, you whooped my butt." He turned around and it was like he was gone. And then like 2 days later, Prince's people got in touch with him and was like, "Prince enjoyed playing with you." I was like, what the fuck? But man, like, so for me, when my parents say, I don't remember this, but because I was just a baby, but they say that I was singing before I could talk, and I was making these funny noises with the back of my throat that I can't replicate now, but they said they never heard a sound like that before in their life, and I told them it was because I was an alien.
Okay.
But they didn't buy that because, they said they made me. I don't know what that, science is weird. So, but I tell people this, especially musicians that write their own music and they come from the heart and the soul. It's like you open yourself up to something like it's an antenna. And a lot of times when you're performing on stage, it's not like you,
Yeah.
Like it should go somewhere.
It really is. And I do like to do music, but, my bread and butter actually comes from being a music therapist. So music does have that ability to literally transcend.
Oh, yeah. I saw a video yesterday on YouTube where you can, set up a rubber hose in front of a huge woofer, like a woofer like that, and then you would tape it down,
right,
and then you set the frequency to like 24 kilohertz, and it actually makes the water zigzag as it's coming out, and it looks like it's standing still. Wow. It's the craziest shit. And then you can set it on 23 kilohertz, and it looks like it's going backwards. It looks like it's going up, back into the tube.
All right, I gotta
and
YouTube
see,
that one.
And the thing is like it just proves that the science of tone and key and frequency and tempo and
real.
All that stuff is. And then that's what I try to explain to people, especially on this show, because I feel like the Soulcast should be something where I'm talking about where it comes deep down inside, and it's not a formula that someone's figured out and they're saying, because most of the stuff that's on the radio is just formulated bullshit, and it drives me crazy because I'm like, how can you not hear that that's the same song you listened to 5 seconds ago?
Yeah.
But how do you feel about? Because I've read a lot lately about live music's becoming a bigger thing now, because the kids that have come up in this last generation had so much music right at their fingertips that nothing's real to them anymore. Yeah. And so now they're craving real shit, and they want to see a live artist do live music in front of their faces, to see that shit's real. It's not a formula. Do you feel like that progression is going to, because I'm hoping that trend continues and that eventually...
I hope so, too, because, some of the artists that have come out, I'd say within the past, 10 years, that, I hear their songs on the radio and I'm like, oh, man, this is good, Then to see a live recording or to actually see them live and be completely disheartened because of how much production and how much is actually produced. Mm-hmm. And, what what you're paying for or downloading is not what you actually get from the artist.
Oh, yeah.
And I just feel this big disconnection in between there.
Yeah, that's why, people like the undergrounds, like Widespread and Fish, the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
They were never like mainstream, but at the same time, they are one of the few that can go to a venue and sell it out 3 nights in a row in the same freaking city.
Yeah.
And it's because they can't really capture what they do live on a CD.
It's never going to be the same.
Yeah, it's crazy. But then you have the ones that come in there and they do everything cookie cutter, bam, 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 layer it all out, and then you see them live and you're like, really?
It sounds just like the CD, and it's just like, well, I could have stayed home and listened to the CD.
Yeah, I know you lip sync.
Ticket prices have gone up.
I know you lip sync. You cannot dance and sing that.
Be out of breath and sweating.
You know what I'm saying? That's not my name. But no, I mean, for me, I think that live music is where it's coming back to that.
It's coming back.
And so you came by way of Savannah. Where were you before that?
Before that, I was actually in Milledgeville. That's where I went to school, Georgia College and State University. Go Bobcats.
What?
And that is where I found my voice, so you speak. I always wanted to learn how to play guitar. I got one when I was 13 years old from a neighbor up the street for $20. It might as well have been a Gibson, a Hummingbird, because that's how much I thought of it.
Right.
But it was some no-name brand. I had a nice cardboard case for it and everything.
Wiped it down, put it right back in the case.
Exactly. And, I learned all of 3 chords, but at 13 years old, my attention span came and went. But then when I picked it up at Georgia College for the purpose of using it for therapy, I really was able to, all right, I really got to learn this now, because if I'm going to be in healthcare helping people with this, I need to be pretty efficient at what I do. And so that first guitar class was hell. It really was. And, shout out to Dr. Green if he's still there. That was a tough class, but it made me really look at the guitar not just as, learning chords, but, the theory behind it, the chording, the instrumentation, just, not just music, but actually learning the guitar well enough that I can apply it not only in therapy, but in performance-wise and so forth. I started playing violin at 11, and that's actually what I really do. Singing and playing guitar was not till, eons later. I started off Point South Middle School, Bernadette Scruggs, music conductor. And when I started middle school, 6th grade, at the time, I don't know if they still do this anymore, you can do chorus, band, or orchestra. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if schools are still having those 3 options.
Right.
But, I just knew that I was going to be in chorus. Growing up, I did like to sing. I had some intentions that I would be the next Whitney Houston, in my mind. But when I got to the chorus and they had the 8th graders, do a short song, I was just not impressed. I was, like the gymnast, that was me. Mm-hmm. I was so sad because I just knew that I was going to be in the chorus, getting solo, and then finally went to the orchestra orientation, and Miss Scruggs, whipped out that violin and did some kind of a Vivaldi Bach concerto, and I was like, I don't know, whatever she just did, but that's what I'm going to do. And from then on, music has always been an important factor in my life, not only being able to, do it for myself, but I get to work with some really cool people, musically and in healthcare.
Yeah, see, I think that's fascinating too, because if anybody was to dig deep enough, they would know that I have some mental history inside of the mental wards. And it wasn't anything really major, but we could talk about that later. But
we'll have a session after.
But they had this lady that came in, you know, like once a week or whatever, and she did music therapy, and basically, but what she did was she would have lyrics to a song, and then she would play a song, and then she would have us sing along with the songs, you know. And that's all fine and good, but I'm kind of interested in how I mean, what do you do? Like, where do you go? And
well,
how's your
for
job?
what I do, I work with the veterans, and I primarily work with older veterans with Alzheimer's and dementia.
Oh, wow.
And music with, you know, anybody that is diagnosed with that illness is a powerful tool. Music has the ability to transcend generations, race, color, background. Music is known to every culture of man. And now that, you know, medicine has come a long way to the point where, all right, let's not always prescribe a pill first. Let's see what kind of alternative there is, you know, outside of a prescription.
Man, I'm glad to hear that.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
Oh, yeah. And people need to be aware of things like music therapy does exist. And, you know, the point of music therapy is not only to, you know, have a musical experience, but our purpose is actually non-musical. You know, music is just the modality. And, you know, it helps the veterans that have problems with cognition, help reminiscing, a way to socialize, reconnect, a way to relax. It helps with the veterans with PTSD, with anxiety disorders, and so forth and so forth. The gamut of what music can do with people, let alone with veterans, is endless. It really is. So make sure you check out this month's Augusta magazine. There is a great article in there featuring myself with a couple of music therapists, Sherry Smith and Stephen Montgomery, that really highlights what music therapy is, and it's available in this city. You know,
that's awesome.
Music's great,
man.
So
make
like, it medicine.
I told my dad whenever I was a kid, and I've said this several times on the show, that that I thought it was magic, and I was like, how do they do that? You know, I asked him, how do they do that? You know, that's magic. And Dad's like, it is magic. You know, and luckily I didn't have a dad that was like, oh, you're so silly, blah blah blah. You know, he backed me up. He was like, yeah, that is magic. You know, and you know, it's just like, it's funny too, because I didn't realize the depth of how you know what you did really. You know, so I'm just learning all this stuff, and I think that's fascinating, because whenever I did have the opportunity to be in a mental facility and have an opportunity to be with a music therapist in that kind of weird way, I was like, damn, that's kind of a cool job. You know, that would be a cool job to have, because it was the only thing that I looked forward to in that place. The rest of the time, you weren't even allowed to listen to music. But you know what you could watch is the fucking news on TV. Yeah. How is that supposed to calm you down, dude? What the fuck?
That's not therapeutic.
Yeah, and then you got newspapers sitting around talking about the war all the time, and I was like, I don't get this. It's almost like I'm in a fucking Twilight Zone.
You create an environment that induces the depression, or, you know, whatever health issues. So, you know, there's a lot of facilities that have that model that need to get away from that. You know, don't always show the news for people that are going through, you know, anxiety and stress and so forth and so forth. That's not helping.
Yeah, and another thing that kind of ticked me off was the therapist. You know, I know they got a rough job and it's probably hell on them, but I mean, hell, I don't believe I seen one look me in the eye the whole time I was there, but they sure did prescribe those pills and tried, but I ain't take them. I ain't even take them. I spit them out.
I guess I better run.
I spit them out. Shit. Nah, but we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. This is a good conversation. Don't go nowhere now.